Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Haristutihi Shloka 40. Tavat sarvam satyamiva bhati yadetad yavat sosmi tyatmani yognyo nahi drishtaha drishte yasmin sarvam asatyam bhavatidam tam samsara dhvanta vinasham harimide. Anvayarthaha आत्मनि यह ज्ञः यावत् सः अस्मि इति न हि दृष्टः तावत् एतत् यत् सर्वं सत्यम् इव आभाति यस्मिन् दृष्टे इदं सर्वम् असत्यं भवति तं संसारध्वान्तविनाशं हरिम् ईडे. So according to the meaning, we will see the this prose order. Word meaning we will look at. Atmani means this body. In this body mind sense complex, we've already seen that the body mind sense complex includes the 5 organs of action, karmendriyani, 5 sense organs, jnanendriyani, organs of knowledge. Then the 5 elements, and then the mind and the intellect. So all this is included. The subtle body is also included. So Atmani means in such a body mind sense complex, yaha nyaha, yaha the one who is, nyaha as such knowledge, that is as the nature of knowledge itself, which is also known as Chit. In other words, the consciousness principle, that yavat saha asmi iti, as long as that nyaha is the saha, that nyaha asmi means aham asmi, I am of the nature of that consciousness principle. Iti means thus, in this way, nahi drishtaha, it is not known. In other words, that consciousness principle is the truth of the self. This is not known until such a time. It is not known. Tavat, till then, until then, what happens? Etat yat sarvam, this whole world which we are perceiving, interacting, visualizing, this whole world is taken to be satyam iva abhati. It appears as the truth. This whole world is taken to be the absolute truth. Whereas yasmin drishte, once the truth is known. Here drishte means known. The word drishte is to be understood as known or perceived or discerned. So when this truth, that I am of the nature of that consciousness principle, once we know that, then idam sarvam, this whole world which until now appeared to be the absolute truth, that world sarvam, idam sarvam, this whole world, asatyam bhavati, will be unreal. In other words, it will appear to be only a limited, apparent reality, limited in time. Tam samsara dhvanta vinasham harimide. So unto that Paramatma, who is the absolute truth, so with his anugraha, with his grace, samsara dhvanta vinasham harimide, we worship unto him, so that with his grace we are able to remove this ignorance which causes the presence of samsara. So unto that Paramatma, also known as Hari, I worship. This is the basic meaning. So let's look at a little more detailed meaning. The means of knowledge are 5. Usually there are 5 means of knowledge. One is pratyaksha, that is direct perception, pratyaksha pramanam. Another is anumana pramanam, knowledge by inference. And then shabda pramanam, knowledge by verbal testimony. Then upamana, knowledge by comparing with something else that is similar. Arthapati is you postulate and presume from the circumstances. That is one way of knowing something. And then anupalabdhi, you perceive the absence of some object. See, this is how I have explained it in very brief. Okay, so there are these means of knowledge. Now these means of knowledge can only give you knowledge about the differences of objects. So which in other words, it means all that which can be objectified, that is finally negated, and then that which remains is established as Brahman, the absolute reality. So what we need to understand is all the available means of knowledge can only be used in the sphere of that which is available for objectification. Since we've already been learning through so many stotras, Brahman is not available for objectification. So then how do I understand this Brahman? For that, as an answer, we need to get this idea that looking at the objects in the world through these 5 means of knowledge, we understand that they are all limited by time. Then you negate all the objects, and then what remains is understood as Brahman, the absolute reality. So that is explained in this stotra as Atmani, within this body mind sense complex, as I explained, which is also known as Karya Karana Sanghate Asmin Dehe. This body, which is made up of the 5 Jnanendriyani, organs of perception, then the 5 Karmendriyani, the organs of action, and then the 5 elements, Panchabhutani, and then the mind and the intellect. So within this, the question is, where is Brahman? So we get into this process of analysis. So then we ask, Yaha Nyaha, after going through Shastram, how do we do vichara? Yaha Nyaha, that which is always existing in the form of knowledge as such. In other words, Nyaha means Chit, the witness consciousness, and that is always existing. So that Paramatma, that Chit, Yavat Saha Asmi iti, that Chit, until we don't understand as the truth of the self. So till then, what happens? This whole world which we are perceiving and thinking it to be so real, and because this whole world is very real, we think that is the absolute truth and it's going to be permanent, there is no end, and we go through the different emotional upheavals. So Satyamiva Abhati, Etat Sarvam Satyamiva Abhati. So as long as we don't know that truth is the nature of this self, until then this whole world is perceived as the permanent truth, and one is subject to sorrow and grief. So the next words in the shloka says Yasmin Drishte. So Yasmin Drishte, Yasmin means in that Pratyag Abhinne Brahmani. Once we understand that Brahman is non-separate from Jiva, as though entered into this body, that Brahman is only existing as Jiva. Once this is understood, Once this is understood, means with the help of acharya and teachings, if we understand, then after the understanding has occurred, what will happen? Sarvam idam. Sarvam idam means this whole world which we have been thinking till now is the absolutely real thing which has no end. This whole the space, even the air, fire, water, the elements, this whole, all the beings, everything that we objectify and think as very real, the both the gross body, the subtle body, and then we are perceiving ourselves as the doer, the experiencer, etc. This whole thing will become asatyam bhavati. It will become unreal. That is, upon understanding the truth, the nature of Brahman as Satchidanandam Brahma, then this world which used to appear in our mind as the permanent entity, now it will lose that status. In other words, we will know that this world is mithya, Jagat is mithya, that was known as the past, that which is going to come as the future. This whole thing is within a time frame. So anything which falls within a time frame is not absolutely true. This is understood. So this thing is further explained as, you think of all the objects in a dream world, like as though you're in a dream, and when you come out of the dream world, you know that all the objects and experiences in the dream world were only temporarily real. So that is explained in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad as yatra tu asya sarvam atmaiva abhut tat kena kam pashyet. It means when the qualified sadhaka gains this knowledge of the self, then for him, he knows that the self is Brahman. So who is to see whom and who is to experience what? That truth is realized by the sadhaka. Like, in the previous shloka, we saw akshara samyaha yaha asthulam anano adishu otam protam cha. So, upon doing vichara about where is this Brahman, if you say Brahman is appearing as this world, then where is this Brahman? If that question is put, then we see that the Shastra says that Brahman is Otam Protam. Now to understand this word Otam Protam, the example of the yarn in a cloth is given by the Shastra. See, the warp and the weft, these are two components in weaving to turn the thread into a fabric. One goes vertical and the other goes horizontal. The warp goes vertical and the weft or the woof goes horizontal. The warp is vertical, the other is horizontal. They are so closely woven that when a fabric is shown to you, you don't see the difference at all. But then, in and through all that difference only, this whole uniform fabric appears. Like that, Shastra says, this akshara samyaha yaha otam protam. So this Paramatma is all pervading. Just like the fabric looks smooth and uniform and the differences are not known at all. So when we deliberate as to where is Paramatma in this world, then Shastra says Paramatma is otam protam, inhering in everything as that unchanging consciousness principle and pervading everything. So the sadhaka, when he knows this, he sees no difference. There is no dvaitam at all. So then he understands kena kam pashyet, by whom, who is to be seen. In other words, when this knowledge about the self arises, That Brahman whom I have been seeking is the truth of my nature also. Iti, when this knowledge arises, then the differences of the seer, one who is seeing, then the object that is seen, and that seeking itself, everything merges, the differences merge, and the absolute seer, Aksharam Brahma, alone remains. So, from this we understand that all the means of knowledge are only for the transactional world where differences are apparently real and there are only differences. So, it is only the Veda which is pramana, a means to know Brahman. So, the words of the Veda, that only is taken and in a simple format. Bhagavad Padacharya has given it in this stotra format. So the words of the Veda are employed in such a way that one can negate all the objectifiable universe in the process of vichara while doing analysis and trying to understand Brahman. Then after negating, we see that what remains is Brahman, the absolute truth, which is none other than I, the nature of I, the witness consciousness. Iti, the understanding occurs. So, unto that Brahman prayer is offered. So, then the last line is Tam samsara dhvanta vinasham harim ide. I offer prayers to that Brahman, that Hari, so that ignorance, which is the cause for samsara, ignorance of the self, which is the cause for the differences in samsara, that is destroyed. Iti. Tavat sarvam satyamiva bhati yadetad yavat sosmi tyatmani yognyo nahi drishtaha. दृष्टे यस्मिन् सर्वम् असत्यं भवतीदं तं संसारध्वान्तविनाशं हरिमीडे. नमस्ते.